Alrighty, everybody. How we doing? How's it going? Um, what's up? I'm Squeetee. We're going to be watching Ashes of Creation, June 2023 development update. We got farms, freehold discussions for Alpha 2. I'm pretty excited. You can find me at squeetee.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all that fun stuff. Some days Twitch works, some days it doesn't. Like right now, it's not loading my thing and says I'm offline, but then says I'm live. But Facebook works, YouTube works. It's just stupid. Whatever. Anyway, so I'm going to be going through this. We're going to do like a watch along. Hopefully, we get some people jumping in, having a good time, getting the discussion going. Usual stuff. Make sure my phones aren't going to like freak out on me as I'm doing it. All right, cool. Let's get into it. It's a long one. You can see here the bar. It's a 2-hour stream. I think there's a big farming freehold talk discussion. So I think there's a lot. So it's going to be quite a bit. I'm just making sure my phone, I don't have any messages before I start, so let's do this. Hopefully you can hear clearly, but let me know if it's low. Put it at 60.
Hello and welcome to our glorious Ashes of Creation June development update. We hope everyone is well and safe and has been having a wonderful month. On our front, it has been crazy. We've got a lot going on, and you better buckle in, strap up, because it's going to be a long one today. I hope everyone brought their snacks.
Lordy.
I was warning people in the
Brought
chat.
my brush.
So you've been warned.
It is going to be a long one. I mean, what are we thinking here? Probably at least an hour and a half, if not maybe 2. Oh my god.
Yeah,
gosh.
depending on how many questions we answer after. So we'll
Gonna
see
be a
how
lot.
it goes. But a lot
Gonna
of
be a lot.
information, a lot of new information, and updated information from old information. So keep that in mind as we're moving forward today.
Let's see if I can get my
But to
Twitch
cover what we're going to be covering, we're going to go quick reminders. I'm going to try to be really quick about that. Freehold update. We'll do some art updates, which includes some new Nikuin awesomeness. I know folks have been asking about more dwarf stuff, and a studio update and Q&A. So first and foremost, we have our spotlight for our YouTube comment, which comes from Zash Welsh Guy and wants to know, with fishing, will we be able to use the fish we catch with the animal husbandry profession? Maybe have a freehold pond or a
that was already
fish
discussed.
Player home.
Yeah, this is something that we have ideas around and designs around. We haven't done any implementation or development for it yet, but the idea is that for certain types of fish or certain very rare kind of trophy-esque fish, you would be able, instead of using the material, to go through a process that might put it into things that are more cosmetic focused, like a fish tank or a pond on the freehold or something.
I've already showed a pond on the freehold.
We definitely have some ideas around there. I think it's a super cool thing to kind of see something you've taken from the world and now that you've domesticated or put into your customizable space. So great question. It's definitely on the top of our minds. It's something that we're going to be exploring post Alpha 2.
Awesome, awesome. And then we've got Stephen will be on the Ashen Forge over on twitch.tv/theoryforge on July 9th. I think that they're going to be putting up a thread over on our forums as well to gather some questions from the community.
That should be interesting. I'll try to watch that.
Stream. So definitely check that out. Stephen will probably answer a lot of questions. They always have a good time and ask a lot of good things. And of course, we also have our dev discussion about role playing up.
I'm not a fan of a lot of the
what systems and features make role playing fun.
YouTubers or whatever
help remove hurdles and barriers
for Ashes. They don't seem to be that interesting, including myself.
To pop on over to our forums.
Hey, Armored Cell, thanks for what was that over there? A follow over on Twitch. I appreciate it.
For the Songs of the Sea.
How's it going tonight?
2023. And I know that we had previously said that the packages will be changing coming up in the future, but Stephen was giving y'all a long warning. It's going to be a bit before that changeover happens, but we will give you guys ample notice with an FAQ on details of what that will entail. And with that,
I'll watch that. Probably do a recap of it too, maybe.
So if you
just like I'm doing
any prefaces here, Stephen?
Yes, let me give you guys a bit of a preface. So we decided to take a little bit of a different approach with this presentation. The first half of this is going to be really focused in on detailing out some of the mechanics of the freehold system. A part of it is going to be reiterating what you guys have known for a while,
Yes.
but
I love
another part of it's going
mechanics.
to be giving some updates around these designs and some changes that have occurred in anticipation of the rollout for freeholds during Alpha 2. So give us your feedback on whether or not you like the style of this approach for the presentation. The first, like I said, half of it is going to be us kind of going through slides and showing some of the tech trees of the buildings and some of the purposes of these different systems on the freehold. And then after that, we're going to have a little bit of gameplay.
This is what I've been waiting for
showcasing the freeholds. I believe Bucky has a freehold. We're going to be going through doing some farming on it, some live interactions with some of the livestock. We're also going to be showing off as an ancillary overview some of the changes that we had talked about previously to the inventory system. We're going to show some of the storage off. We're going to show off a couple of new mounts and some of the mining areas. It's something that really the focus is giving you guys expectations around how freeholds have changed coming towards Alpha 2.
Yeah, because freeholds used to be like a square.
This is going to be a long
and I
one.
saw a screenshot earlier. It didn't look like a square. It looked much
an hour long.
expansive.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that
we'll see you.
I kind of want to make neighborhoods. You know, before I thought it would be like a grid system. We'd have freeholds on top of each other. It'd be like a Chicago city block or something with a bunch of say townhouses, but like bungalows.
Hello, everyone.
But now it looked, the picture I saw looked very flowing and it looked roundish.
Jay and Vera, but actually we are going to be doing something a little bit
Put up
different
the volume a little more
than what you are accustomed to. And the reason for this is because we are getting a little bit into the systems and the mechanics of how freeholds work. And it's going to be a two-part presentation. The first of which you're seeing now is going to be in the format of a more PowerPoint-oriented kind of presentation, talking about the mechanics, looking at skill trees. And then the second part is going to be in-game, where we're going to take a look at some of the systems like farming, livestock, housing, and storage. But I am joined today by three absolutely glorious developers on the Ashes of Creation dev team.
He's got to pump them up.
Our designers, first of which is a regular appearing guest, Mr. Bucky. How you doing, Bucky?
Hey, how's it going? I'm Bucky,
Hey,
aka
Bucky.
Dr. Bucky, game designer here at Intrepid, helping out some of the arts and ship designs and also some of the systems related nodes and freeholds and also a little bit of combat design.
Yes. And we also have with us joining, I believe for the first time, one of our glorious designers, Mike.
Hello, my name is Mike. I'm a senior system designer here at Intrepid. It's really nice to be here. Yeah, yes. I deal with economy and itemization, and this is the first time on live stream. I'm really excited. Yeah.
Yes, we're excited to have you as well. And we have Corey also. Corey, I believe you were on our December live stream that we did.
Yeah, I was there for the
gathering.
I'm Corey. I'm a technical designer, and I focus mostly on artisanship and economy. Kind of jump around to other things, but those are my main things.
Yes. Now we have an exciting
there's the slideshow
topic today, which is I think near and dear to a lot of players' hearts, and that is freeholds. And what are we looking at here? Tell me a little bit of what this concept art is. We've obviously talked a lot about freeholds in the past as a system since back in 2017 when we first were discussing Ashes of Creation with the community during Kickstarter and what the intent of freeholds are. But what are we looking at? And tell me a little bit about the system overall.
So, yeah, we got a little example set of a freehold here, right? We got on the left, we have some farmable animals, some livestock here in pens, and then we have in the middle there's a bunch of crop rows of farmable crops the players can have, and then there's a couple different examples of different kind of freehold buildings you can have on your freehold. One of which is the house on the right, and then
three buildings at once like
freehold
this?
buildings as well.
That's huge.
There's a mill in the back there as well.
Yeah, and for those of you, who have just been kind of tuning into Ashes of Creation's development or don't follow along in game development or other projects, this type of concept art is really important, especially for the artists on the team who
are
helping
fog.
develop and create the world around
you.
It
kind
of
fog
sets
in
the
the concept
mood
art.
for what we're trying to accomplish when environment art starts creating these assets and starts creating these environments, right? What's the type of visuals we're looking to achieve?
Yeah, it really, really helps us, right? Like we can only do so much on paper, and we have to start kind of visualizing the ideas, right? So, kind of coming up with the space and what's going to fit and how's it going to look and all of these things that we want to coexist in this space, right? Like concept lets us know whether or not it's even possible. So, looking at stuff like this is super exciting.
Super duper exciting.
And as I said, we have a few updates to the system that we're going to go over in detail through this PowerPoint. But to start us off, let us ask a question.
What
exactly are freeholds? Freeholds obviously have a lot of different purposes within Ashes of Creation. However, three main purposes that freeholds provide are allowing really players an opportunity to kind of express themselves in a highly customizable fashion, right? So these are plots of lands that you have access to. You can build different types of buildings.
The highest level of processing is only acceptable in a freehold.
And place furniture, and you can grow livestock, and you can just own this piece of land. And one unique thing about allowing the players to kind of express themselves through this manner in Ashes of Creation is that it's in the open world. So it's not an instance or a phase location that you are kind of customizing. You're actually leaving a mark on the world that's representative of you as a player, as a character, something you can role play. But importantly enough, when it comes to the economy, freeholds also provide the highest level of processing that's available. And processing is one of three primary branches that exist within the artisanship system. Processing is kind of the intermediary step between what you gather in the wild and what you eventually craft in your recipes.
This freehold looks
huge. The other primary purpose of freeholds
is that
they allow you to offer certain types
of
business
services, right?
Because we don't just want to make freeholds delegated to the individual owner. We want it to have capabilities to kind of interact with other players as they're walking past your freehold, as they're going to these hunting grounds and participating in quests or events that might be existing around. And that means that location matters for the freehold because it's important to the business. Have you guys ever, Corey, Bucky, Mike, have you guys ever played a game that's had a system as intricate as freeholds are in an MMO? Talk to me a little bit about your experiences.
There are housing systems in other MMOs, right?
Star Wars Galaxies.
But it's not as much ambitious of projects that we're trying to accomplish here. Right. There's always, like putting some furnitures, putting some cosmetic stuff that's on the freehold to look nice, but like we're trying to accomplish three major pillars, which is, looking unique, making impact in the economy, and I really love the part that we're trying to make a footprint onto the real world that you are actually owning a piece of land in an MMO, and I think that's really cool.
I was familiar with what they were talking about.
I've played games obviously that have housing systems, and they sometimes delegate those housing locations to very specific areas that are off the beaten path and aren't necessarily fully integrated into the rest of the world.
So it's like 4 buildings
that players like to play in. And one
which
thing
is still, in my opinion, achieving with
more than
what I thought they originally would have had.
Really moving that
with stuff you can throw in the middle
that players are a part of and doing things in. Here we're kind of looking at
Can I make my house
a layout. And talk to me a little bit, Bucky, about these different aspects of the types of buildings that you can place and the things that you can do on the freehold that we see here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, players will have a lot of freedom in what they choose to outfit their freehold with, and kind of like what you were talking about before. And in other games we've seen different housing systems where it's more kind of like plot based, and you're kind of locked into specific places for buildings and stuff. But in ours, it's going to be you'll have a lot more freedom in where those buildings go, which buildings you choose, how many buildings you even want. If you want to just sacrifice maybe some building space for additional farming space, so players will have a lot of opportunity to customize the way their freehold looks and operates.
Yeah,
show me.
Absolutely cool. I see that there is a shed that's listed there. Is that shed? Do we talk about the shed a little bit later in the presentation?
Yeah, we can touch on that later, I think.
Okay. Cool. All right. So you're obviously asking yourself, how do I own a freehold?
Yes.
Bucky, do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. So it's kind of a multi-step process, but the first thing you'll have to do is you'll have to complete a quest to unlock the ability to even acquire the freehold permit.
Really?
So once you do that quest, line, you'll be able to go to the node and bid on an available freehold permit. If you're able to win the permit,
And real quick, Bucky, so the purpose of that quest is, these nodes aren't just going to grant the ability to own land within their zone of influence to anybody, right?
Exactly.
And so the quest is kind of a method by which the node gets to vet both the intent of the player who's attempting to own this parcel of land, but also whether or not they are up to the chops of actually owning and servicing.
All right, I like that. That's not bad.
It takes a lot to service these freeholds.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. So talk to us a little bit about these parcels. Like, how do they exist around the node?
Yeah, so basically there'll be a variety of predetermined parcels of land in each node's zone of influence. And once players acquire their freehold permit, they'll be able to lay claim to any available parcel in the issuing node's region. So and by region we mean that node's region is the total combined territory of a node and all of its vassal nodes. So if you acquire a freehold permit in the metropolis of a huge region, almost 20% of the map, right? You'll be able to lay a claim to an available parcel anywhere within that region. So it gives you a lot of freedom if you're able to acquire the permit.
I don't like that. I like it being free where I can place
this is one of the first changes for those of you in our core audience who have been following development for a period of time now. You will know that because we are in active development, everything that relates to the design of the game is available to be iterated upon and changed. And so, as I said at the start of this, you're going to be seeing a little bit of changes to the systems, and we'll eventually show you here in game some of those systems. But you're going to see a little bit of change, and this is one of the first one, is that these are predetermined locations that exist around the node or under its vassal structure that you will have the ability to bid on. And to give you kind of a sense there, this allows us to customize a bit of those predetermined parcels, like a Sherwood Forest type of example, or the hills
but I don't know. I like being free to place what I want.
Thank you. Exactly. Thank you. Essentially, letting us kind of customize that, and then when you've taken the permit for that parcel, then you get to go and place your freehold plot out in that section of that area of the world, right? And nodes will have many see how big the parcel by which they are able to sell permits to, and it will be on a auction basis. So talk to us a little bit about that permit and what it looks like to lay that down, Bucky.
Sure, yeah. So it'll basically be an item in your bag, and once you get to your parcel, you claim that piece of land, and then once it's claimed, you'll be able to use the item to go into top-down view and lay out actually exactly where your freehold will go on that parcel of land. And you'll have a lot of freedom, so a lot of that will be going through, looking at your whole area of land you now own, claim to, and then deciding where the best spot to put your freehold in there would be.
So the freehold's obviously
and
larger
having this type of layout
than
makes it so that in the
freehold
world, when we talk
is.
about the visual fidelity and the kind of freehold density that might exist out in these open areas, we don't want it to be where you're running through the world and at every glance you see someone's freehold, right?
Exactly.
And what this allows us to kind of do
all right, I get that.
is partition those spaces out so that there's a minimum distance essentially between the different freeholds.
Yeah, and there'll be places like where you won't be able to put a freehold even, right, like a point of interest or roads or, a dungeon area. So the parcels will kind of be mapped around those areas.
I don't know. In Star Wars Galaxies, I loved it when you could just randomly find someone's house.
The concept art
in the middle of nowhere. It was super decorated. Different
than what we showed earlier, so which kind of gives you the freedom of the placement of what you can do. This is like way more farming aesthetics where the gatherables are a whole bunch in the middle, and then there's like a storage mill kind of thing in the middle. So that's how much freedom that we want to offer players, how customizable a freehold can be.
Yeah, I love it.
I see the merits of this option, but I also
like we said, one of the first and most important aspects of the freehold system is that it's giving the players that level of customization to help them represent their identity, the identity of their character, right? Now, obviously, the freehold would not be a freehold without a house. That's the most important aspect of
the freehold system. It's also what is the first necessary thing that you must build. Talk to us a little bit about housing.
Yeah, so as you can see here, we got some examples of the different sizes of houses you might be able to have on your freehold.
Makes sense.
And the first, like you said, the first building you need to build on the freehold is a house, and then once you do that, you're able to, build other buildings like the different artisanship buildings or businesses. We'll get to later.
And now, before that house is present, what's on the freehold?
It's just an empty plot of land. All you have will be the little storage shed that gives you the base storage to be able to bring materials to your freehold and then make your construction.
Okay.
Nice. Awesome. So basically, as you acquire that house blueprint, you go and you preview the location of the house blueprint on the piece of land. And when you lay down the construction site, you're expected to bring materials through the caravan system or through the mule system, or even individually if you want to take many trips, to the location of the shed, and then deposit within that shed's storage. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, that's how it works.
Cool.
And then
and
once
what
you do
happens
that,
if I
you'll be able
want
to...
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, once you do that, you'll be able to initiate the construction and complete the house and
Interesting.
proceed with your other thing.
Very cool. And so you were talking a little bit about the housing sizes, right? Small, medium, and large. These actually have mechanical influences.
So now if I want to have my son's
talk
account
to us a little bit about what
with
that
his
size
freehold,
controls.
we're both going to have to find
One
a
of the
node.
main things it'll control is
Auction
your
for a
furniture
parcel
allotment.
that's
So
next to each
a
other.
small house, for example,
If
might
we
only be
want to
able to place
monopolize our
100 furniture items,
work.
whereas a medium or large house would be able to place many more.
I don't know.
And
It's
so
kind of a
that's kind
bummer
of
to me a
a
little
balancing
bit.
factor for players in determining if they want to have a larger house or have a smaller house and have more
I guess it
farmland,
is what it
whereas they're
is,
sacrificing
so.
furniture then for that.
Got it. So space actually matters here. And when you talk about, that furniture having a functional benefit to the player, Corey, what are some examples of that
Very interesting.
furniture system? I know we've talked in the past about some of these, but talk to me a little bit about the importance of having that furniture and how that furniture kind of gets placed. Can it be placed anywhere? Is it going to be placed on top of each other? Tell us a little bit about the furniture.
Yeah, placing the furniture is like one of the most fun, at least for me, parts of customizing.
If it's like Star
place
Wars
or your
Galaxies,
land, right? Like
oh,
that's where you can really kind of express yourself, and this looks
yeah,
like a good
you
place
could
to
do anything
have a
in that
dining
game.
room. Oh, this looks like a good place to put my bed. Maybe this is looking really cozy. I'd like to do my cooking in here. I can place down a cooking station, right? So.
But can I flip
the
things
other point
upside
is
down
that like not
and
all
furniture on the
furniture
ceiling?
is just cosmetic, right? There could be
Like a
functional
couch.
furniture.
I have a
We're
couch
not
on the
talking
ceiling.
just a chair that you can interact with and sit down with, but there might be something along the lines of furniture that gives you buffs or bolsters up some consumables that you may have, right? Like so there is more to the space that the house gives you to place the furniture, because that might allow you to get more function out of said furniture. So
Okay.
there's some thought that goes into whether or not you want more furniture space or less furniture space, more farmland, less farmland. It's pretty fun.
Absolutely. I love it
It's
when the
fantastic.
furniture actually has a purpose, right? Outside of just the visual appearance and the aesthetic of the home, but is something that, players are called to interact with because it provides a benefit in the game as well. Now, housing, of course, wouldn't be housing without the ability to customize that appearance. And you'll see here a few different examples
cool.
of housing that's representative of at least 8 of the 9 different races. You'll notice that the Talnar aren't represented here, but they will be represented in the future.
I think
but
everyone's
the
going to go with
blueprint that we
Kalar.
talked about
honestly.
earlier, when you acquire this blueprint,
Maybe the Empyreans.
talk to me a little bit, Mike, about that process. Where do you kind of acquire these blueprints? What are the multiple ways that you can get them?
I like the designs of all of these.
Essentially.
So a blueprint, like the basic ones, could be sold at a node, at a vendor, something similar to what a node is racial influences. So if it's a Kalar node, you should be able to buy a Kalar house.
Okay.
But it's interesting that we tie
That
this
makes
system
sense.
to a blueprint, because we can do so much more itemization portion of it, so we can drop it from a boss, we can make it from a scribe can write a blueprint that is very specific or unique look, and if you went to a Kalar node, maybe they'll sell a recipe to write a medium Kalar house, and if you go to a Renkai one, they'll just sell you a blueprint for a large Renkai house, right? So there is that acquisition of like blueprint collecting, and then you can sell that to other players when you acquire unique housing blueprint from a boss, for example, right?
Oh yeah, that's super cool. I like the market implications that has, where you essentially can get these uniquely acquired blueprints, and then you can trade and sell them to other players who might not have had the same opportunity to acquire them that you had.
Sure.
And in addition to that, we have obviously cosmetics that we have sold as part of different packs
a lot of cosmetics.
Our pre-order system. Those cosmetics are split into 3 primary categories: housing, artisanship, and business.
Okay.
And we will have a breakdown that we're going to be releasing of the cosmetics that have come previously and which categories they exist in. But players will have the option to override the appearance of a blueprint that exists within one of those categories with an associated cosmetic skin.
Perfect.
And, that is obviously not just something that can be purchased through the pre-order system, but also can be achieved in game as well, are cosmetics that can be applied to specific building types. And we don't get as granular where, let's say, you might have a shrine cosmetic and you have, let's say, a blacksmith building, that you wouldn't be able to apply the shrine to the blacksmith building. If the shrine exists in the artisanship lane, you can apply it to any artisanship type building, but not to a house or a business.
Okay.
So giving a little bit of additional context.
That's fine. I don't mind that.
So what are businesses, you might ask, after hearing that category? Businesses serve a specific function. Mike,
all I know is of a tavern.
Businesses?
Business building is a category where we wanted to kind of branch out of just artisanship buildings, right? So things like taverns, things like market kind of thing, where you can install a player stall so other people can come and visit your freehold
your vendor.
and buy things that
Star Wars Galaxy
tied to you. Or other services like taverns where you could sell a food buff that's unique to your tavern, or something that you can kind of invest and then build so you can have a service building that's near to a POI that's really populated, so you can help players to, maybe gain more XP buff, things like that. And this is the perfect place where we can
there's only 2 types of
that
business.
and allow players to customize their freehold even more.
And then like a
vendor.
vendor.
To branch out from artisanship, just only that, and then have more options for it.
Very cool. I love it. I love the idea of not just the business as a whole and how it relates to kind of other players and their ability to kind of traverse the world and see what you've accomplished, but allowing players to customize the offerings that the business is capable of providing based on what they're creating as an artisanship member, or even what they can acquire from other players to offer through their business as well. And one additional note here is that, freeholds are meant to be a part of the family system, meaning that to utilize the benefits the freehold and the services and mechanics that the freehold provides, it is very conducive to be part of a family with multiple members who are capable of interfacing with this. And because of that, systems like the business system allow for certain permissions to be granted to administer the business functions. And that includes things like setting prices and setting types of sellables or services that are capable of being sold through the business.
Yeah, it's also a great mention there too, is that the fact that freeholds, there's not going to be a ton of parcels all over the world. That might not be feasible for every player to get one, but even if you're if you can be a family member and you have a whole family owning a freehold together, it'll allow many more players to see the system.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
My son's having his own freehold. I'm having mine. We're gonna monopolize.
Now,
we're gonna make a business.
Speaking of a tavern, and
like a big business.
We've obviously talked in the past about having upgrades available for these types of buildings. Let's use this tavern as an example of the types of upgrades that are possible. Talk me through this, what we're looking at here, this tree upgrade path.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So this is something I'm super excited about. This is this is an idea that surfaced through another system that I'm sure we'll get to see in the future, right? And it was one of those like, oh well, that's fun. Like, why can't we have
So
that?
you can unlock
And
the
it just sort
tavern,
of played out perfectly
then
that
it splits.
buildings
One
would
into
have upgrade
food,
paths to
then more
make
food.
them better
This
or
is
worse or
entertainment
more
and a
specific
bed.
in a certain lane of
That's
specialization, based on like how you're
You
trying
could really
to
make
set
a
up your freehold,
tavern
right?
like an inn.
The idea is you place
dark.
down the building, and as you become more proficient in a thing, in the case of artisanship, or as you work within the business building, you could build up the building to be better at some things than others. So what we're looking at here is just kind of an example of that, right? Like we have this tavern, we place it down,
level 50.
and we're really focused on wanting people
spend
to come by here and
gold
gain extra experience or rested experience, because it's maybe our freehold's
I don't know,
really close to a
feathers?
nice hunting spot.
How
So
hard are
we'll
feathers going
upgrade
to be?
our
gold or iron?
our tavern to have these upgraded feather
or
beds,
oak.
to
That
give
could be a
players
lot
that
of work.
bonus, right? And all of the things that you just went over, Stephen, about
That's a lot of
being
wood
able
to
to
make
set
a
the
bed.
commissions and decide who you want this to apply to, how expensive it should be, right? You could be that guy that's got the tavern that's helpful to the guild. You could be the person where people like to stop by and hang out for a bit, get the rested experience and some food
Maybe a little
buffs before they go
social
out
hub.
hunting, right? And this allows people to have their freeholds next to each other and have their own niches of things that they offer to themselves, to the people that they play with, or to the public. So
Absolutely cool. Yeah, I love that. And to give kind of a primer here, we're looking at specifically this upgrade to the tavern type business, which includes the ability to offer beds to weary travelers, right?
So does it actually
And,
physically make
beds
the
have a
beds and put
specific
them in,
functionality. We were
or
talking previously about
just a buff?
furniture's offering in-game mechanics. One of those functionalities that beds provide is a rested experience buff that can be applied. This is obviously going to be kind of at the top tier of what travelers can expect to utilize at taverns when it comes to these beds. That's important because one other aspect of the freeholds is that freeholds are a privilege, not a right, meaning that there is a limited number of freeholds that will be available within the game world.
I'm getting a little panicky. Like, I want my freehold.
Aspect of this particular feature. And remember that housing exists within 3 different types. Freeholds are just one of those types of housings. Housing also exists as static in node versions as well as instanced, and there's also an additional feature that we haven't, I believe, discussed before, which is the inn. And the inn can service as a temporary living space that doesn't have restriction on the quantity, but has a soft ceiling when it comes to the citizenship dues that might be accrued at a node.
Okay.
So if you didn't own a freehold out in a location or hunting ground where you would be participating in some type of adventuring or quest, and you see a tavern with a bed available, you may want to make a stop there and utilize the bed so that when you go out to the nearby hunting ground, you get that rested experience, and that's an important aspect of this.
I like that.
This is very
I
cool.
like that.
I love the aspect of the upgrade paths, and
It really
being
makes it like a
able to
D&D Pathfinder
specialize
adventure.
in the specific types of buildings that you construct. Now, let's say, for example, in this situation, I've constructed a tavern, and I have spec'd into this tier 2 branch of the feathered beds. If I wanted to have the opposite direction in the technology branch here, how would I be able to service that? Would I have to stand up another tavern and then spec into that branch there?
Well, technically you'd have that option, right? You could repurpose the current tavern that you have, or you could build yourself another tavern if you're
Nice.
willing to give up the space and do more.
Absolutely cool.
That would be
That's awesome. And remember,
lucrative.
one of the go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
So I just want to say there is a key point of real estate in the freehold. There is limited amount of space, right? It's really up to the player to give that choice. Like, is this additional buffs on a new tavern building worth what I'm giving up for another building, right? Like that's a
That's
very
true.
interesting take that players needs to make to
well.
make
You don't want to have
freeholds
like
efficient.
a super active
and
freehold.
just to remind you guys again,
or like you don't want to use
these
it a
are
lot,
the
just do a
systems we
tavern.
will be testing in Alpha 2, and
It can be
it's
passive
important
income.
that you guys provide feedback
Free
across
real
these types of
estate.
systems. Tell us what you like, what you think could be done better, and as you play test them in Alpha 2, and as you watch other players play test these systems, afterwards, that is going to be our opportunity to take the feedback and iterate on the system. So it's important to kind of focus in on these details.
When are we going to get to the action
outside
pack?
of businesses, let's talk a little bit about artisanship, and more specifically, processing as it exists within the freeholds, and how the freehold ties into the artisanship as a whole. Corey.
Yeah, so we talked about the 3 lanes of the buildings, right? And artisanship is one of them. So the way that we're sort of tying that in is that each crafting and processing profession will have a building associated with it, right? So before you can place any sort of stations down that are associated with that crafting or processing profession, you'll have to construct your building. And once the building is constructed, right, it has that similar tech tree thing going on, right? So you can spec it in the direction that you'd like it to go, and maybe that synergizes or balances out the way that you're specing your profession. It gives you access to placing stations. It gives you access to placing more stations. And then we also have some benefits that are conferred by the building itself to all of the things related on the freehold. So let's say there's some sort of weaponsmithing bonus given by a weaponsmithing building. That would mean that your weaponsmithing stations on your freehold would incur that bonus. So
okay, that's
Very
cool.
Yeah, I really like the aspect of, some games take a direction that departs a bit from realism, and I think ultimately the end goal of any system that you implement into a game is to have fun, right? Is that gameplay loop there fun? And I feel personally, and this is just a completely subjective opinion, but I feel personally, when you can achieve a high degree of fun and also achieve a high degree of realism in the process, that's the type of MMO experience I personally enjoy a lot. And I think that with this freehold system and emulating that realistic kind of process of what processing looks like, and we're going to get into a little bit of detail on that about how these processing stations work that are afforded through the processing buildings that you can construct. I just think that's something that's really cool. It gets me immersed. It gets me kind of the suspension of disbelief is really there, and I'm just enamored by what that play experience is.
Yeah, I totally agree. As a big time factory sim player, I love setting up these processing chains of raw resources to process to craft. I feel like we're going at a really fun level for players that are going to enjoy going out in the world gathering, taking those raw resources, their freehold to be processed, and then taking that to the node to do the highest level crafting, right? That's just a really fun,
sense.
engaging loop. I think
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm very excited about it as well. I'm a pretty crafting artisanship focused player myself, and I appreciate depth. I appreciate fun, and I appreciate complexity to a limit, right? So this is stuff for me to think about as a player.
So do I
I have my own space. I get to manage that space. I get to decide, what I want to do with it.
I just want to physically
I
see
get to decide how I want it to synergize with the professions I've chosen. I can make a name for myself. I can make social connections by the way that I express myself as whatever profession
I want to know
I'm
about
into.
this fourth bullet point.
And
Players
freehold
can
is
craft
sort
up
of,
to
sort
journeyman
of
level on
a mecca
freeholds.
for that.
Do I have to go to a
especially
city
in the
or a
processing
node
realm,
to
right?
do anything higher,
One of the
like
things
master,
that I didn't quite touch
grandmaster,
on
whatever?
that's up here on the screen right now is that the highest level of processing happens only in the freehold. So
I like
the
that.
master and grandmaster level of processing, you'll need a freehold to perform at that level. And then on the crafting side, we want the highest level of crafting to happen at a node. So players will be able to craft on their freeholds, but the max that you'll be able to progress to is a journeyman level.
Awesome. Very cool.
But why do you want that?
Speaking
That's
of
my
processing,
question.
talk to us a little bit about the process of processing.
Yeah, we'll do. So each processing profession will have 4 stations, and the stations will come online as you progress through the profession. Each one of those stations will make goods that are immediately useful to the economy, to crafters, to other processors, and each processing station will build on itself and into the other stations, right?
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
you'll end up kind of at the end, if you do end up going all the way to master or grandmaster, being able to kind of circle between the stations and make different stuff depending on what you want to make.
Okay.
So in addition to using kind of resources in your recipes, we also want to use fuel as a way to run your station.
What kind of fuel, though?
The fuel is I think an awesome kind of talking a little bit about, again, that realistic kind of process. I really love the addition of the fuel and kind of the complexity as that fuel interacts with the type of processed good that you're creating. I think that's a really cool system.
Higher quality fuel gets us better.
It's like players are.
goods?
I feel like players are definitely used to that. With, like, for example, like iron ore. For example, you'd expect that to require some coal, some wood pellets, right, to complete that recipe. But even I think that's just gonna be something where we have core to processing, where any recipe you'll do is going to require some level of fuel. So even like at a sawmill, right, processing your lumber, you will also require fuel to run, and that's kind of going to be something players will learn what are good fuels, what resources can work as a fuel, and what's the meta there.
Yeah,
Magic
definitely
fuel.
getting dialed in with the economy and understanding, what's the price efficiency of using, wood chips versus coal for, a particular recipe, and kind of looking at what
It's an interesting
your
concept.
returns are
It's
based
like we're
on
in a
those
survival
decisions.
game.
It's just like that's so cool that you even get to think about any of those things, right? And then just within the fuel itself, right? Like, so the way that we're going with the fuel is kind of any item can have a fuel value on it, right? So and then when you're putting together, your job to make 100 iron ingots, right? There'll be some sort of value that's required to process that job. So it'll be up to you to choose, the fuel types that you want to. Let's say that it costs 100 fuel to make those 100 ingots. You can make whatever fuel combination you want to fulfill that value. So
Yeah, but do I need to?
Yeah, you might have like mostly amount of coal, but then you're like, I need to throw some extra wood chips in there, right, to finish the recipe off. Or you might have a really high quality like refined fuel you've made, and that one fuel will be able to do many jobs and before it depletes itself. So there's a lot of freedom players have in determining how they.
So it's we're playing a
and obviously
survival game.
I didn't mention this before, but what you guys are seeing, and this is an important part to give feedback in. How do you like this format of a presentation when we get into these more systems kind of designs?
Actually, I do like it. It seems a little slow.
Here is,
but I do like this
the concept
presentation.
art. Ryan Richmond and his team, and Mike Vecchio, and Lloyd and Jeff, and they all do a great job in providing the rest of our development team the concepts that give direction on what to strive for when modeling these assets and creating these environments. They just do a phenomenal job. So kudos.
Phenomenal. They do a good job.
All right.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I want to point out one thing, that certain stations will have the benefits and certain buildings will also have a benefit, and that using those benefits depending on the quality of the station and the tier of the station, like some of these fuel costs could be reduced, right? If your station is very efficient at melting iron, for example, right, then the fuel cost of that recipe might reduce quite a bit. And also, I'm coming back to the real estate thing again, sorry. Where if you, just because you have an artisanship building, that doesn't necessarily mean you get to have all the stations, right? If you want to be best at everything, then you will require multiple artisanship buildings. And if you want access to every stations, then you also require a lot of artisanship buildings. And then you can kind of tech up to be very focused on one, or have all the artisanship buildings that you can possibly want for one specific processing and be the best at it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I gotta see this
it's
in
a
action.
progressive amount of investment required in order to be the best. And these systems are designed with progression in mind, because that depth, that progression, as Corey was speaking earlier, is what makes a lot of these systems compelling, right, to a degree. So let's talk a little bit about the depth and progression when it comes to the lumber mill.
Let's do it.
This is an example of an artisanship building, specifically a processing building.
Golem.
Corey, talk to me a little bit about what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so this is a example similar to what we were looking at with the tavern, but
why are we
sort
being
of
charged
following
gold?
A lumber mill, right? Like players will need to place a lumber mill to
process
advance in their
anything. It's our own building.
milling profession, and you'll be able to kind of spec it based on what you want to focus on as a lumber miller. So what we're looking at here is this arcane golem, and it allows you to process. Process jobs reducing resource, and the fuel and gold cost of processing is dropped by 20%, right? So this one's sort of focusing on cost and efficiency, and there might be other lanes or other particular skills that you can pick up that might focus on more yield, maybe rarity procs, stuff like that, right? So what's really interesting is that you can kind of take these trees and apply it to your skill tree in your profession, and
I like the icons.
Balance or
they're simple,
focus,
straightforward.
or fill in.
You don't even need color.
The gaps that you're missing as you progress.
It's simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you can see, the arcane golem is kind of like the final, like ultimate end talent at this specific skill tree. And so you can see on the bottom left, there's already a couple different active upgrades that are already applying bonuses to all the
Double
stations
saw,
in Freehold that are related to the lumber mills. So
permit,
you see
gear
double saw,
system,
improved permit,
station
gear system, station maintenance, stuff like that. So it'll be a kind of a culmination. Once you fully spec out your building, it'll have a variety of benefits it'll be adding to those stations.
And as you kind of spec into these specific types of upgrades, the building itself manifests
Hey, Job, how's it going?
props and attachments to it that represent these different upgrade paths. So it's a really kind of cool thing to see.
How's your evening going?
Exists kind of on the Freehold. It gives also indication to the other players as to what specializations you focused on.
Yeah, definitely. Like that same, we're hoping to get that same feeling where you walk by that person and you're like, holy shit, that's that sword.
Oh, that's right. Aren't you in the UK if I remember?
You could walk by someone's tavern and be like, oh, they got the bar in the window. Like I can just roll up there and get myself a quick snack and a drink.
Yeah, I was once I saw it was a
head on out
freehold
to the hunting grounds
farming.
They
deal.
Down a certain
I
path
jumped
for
right on it.
the lumber wheel upgrade, and they know that this is probably the processor that you want to reach out to for all of your wood needs.
Yes, absolutely. Well, so guys, as we said, this was a little bit of an experiment, kind of prefacing this particular system, the Freehold system, before we get in game and take a look.
What is
Bucky,
this?
I think you have a Freehold somewhere in the Riverlands, perhaps by some interesting mining options that we're going to take a look at now. Hopefully we don't get killed on the way. But give us your feedback on what you enjoyed or thought could have been done better about this PowerPoint kind of presentation of the system, so that we get a little bit more nitty-gritty details of this. And we're going to do some Q&A after the gameplay. But right now, let's talk a little bit about and go in game and take a look at some farming. Let's take a look at the livestock and those interactions, because I know that those two specific interactions on Freeholds is near and dear to a lot of different players' hearts.
Sweden. My
and
bad. I knew you were in Europe.
There's going to be a little bit of discussion about our inventory management.
Oh yeah,
system.
6 a.m.
I've told you a little bit in the past that we have gone with a kind of Tetris-styled inventory when it comes to materials and raw gatherables. So we're going to take a look. The first iteration of that, of course, everything here is a work in progress. We are still active in development towards Alpha 2.
We know, Steven.
So take everything you see with a grain of salt, but obviously participate on our forums, on social media.
So this
channels,
is like a training ground.
on Twitch, on the things you're liking in
and then they have an arena here. But then he's got a house on his property too.
One other thing I think we're going to take a look at
another house
is some of the housing, some of the furniture.
This Freehold looks massive.
With some of that furniture as well. You might even get a look at a new little mount. But let's switch over to in-game, and we will see you guys in just a second.
All right, show me the goods. Ooh, chili.
Hello, everyone, and we find ourselves now in the world of Vera once again. And Bucky, I think you were talking a little bit about a freehold that you have nearby in the Riverlands here, where we're going to perhaps participate in some of your... What do you got on that freehold? What are you doing over there?
So we got a lot of farming stuff, mainly is what we're focusing on, but we also have a artisan building as well.
Oh,
as
nice.
a forge station, because we got some good mining opportunities out here.
Okay,
so.
Very cool. And
whatever the blue crystals are.
You kind of are close to these ruins with your freehold.
What are the crystals? I don't know why it's bothering me.
Spots around this area for you guys?
They stick out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got some mob packs around here. Players are coming through here a lot to, obviously get this nice resource here. We got some alacanite.
Is that why you formed your freehold near this precious resource? Talk to me a little bit about this resource, Corey and or Mike.
For both of you.
Oh yeah, that's so this is halcyanite. It's a kind of a mid-tier journeyman gem. And yeah, it's just sort of something you would use in weapons and for decorations, jewelry. Cool. So it's pretty sought after for a lot of crafts. So it's pretty valuable.
I love just its look. I mean, it adds a really kind of magical blues to this area. Wow, this is a beautiful. Now, Bucky, I know why you made your freehold here. This is a beautiful view.
Yep, just another beautiful day in Vera.
Oh my gosh. Do you ever get like afraid of heights here? I mean, this is kind of crazy.
Bucky, jump!
I might have something that could help you with this. Hold on, let me see. I can just bring it up here, and then if you ever need to use it when
Drake of the
free
Canopy.
you're more than welcome.
Oh, that's real cool.
Beautiful, perfect. Oh, it's even on theme for the fall weather.
I know, exactly. It's a Drake of the Canopy.
That's
perfect.
Cool.
Yeah, if you ever want to take him for a spin, just let me know.
Okay.
All right, but yeah, there you go. Actually, I'll put him away. He's kind of afraid of heights himself.
Oh.
So I can mine this. So I've maxed out my artisanship levels through a little bit of a cheat, but if you have the tools, and oops, do I have the tools? Okay, guys, you're seeing a little bit of a preview of some of the work in progress UI with the artisanship windows, and obviously you have a number of tools here that are possible. This UI, of course, is going to completely revamped. This is just kind of the wireframing for it. But talk to me a little bit about the tool setup. Why is it important to have these kind of tools? How do tools aid you in your gathering adventures?
Yeah, so each gathering profession will have 3 tools. The tools kind of come online as you progress through the profession, and the different resource types for each one of the profession may require.
I like how that falls apart.
So, you basically want to carry around the right tool for the job, and tools along with artisanship gear will have stats on it, so you can itemize towards how you want to gather, how fast you want to gather. Yeah.
Oh, it looks great. Sense. I love the the destruction of the actual is it halcyanite? Halcanite? What is
Halcyanite.
Yeah, halcyanite. Yeah, I mean, we sort of set the precedent with the trees, right? So we're trying to get similar feelings that the trees bring with their other gatherables.
I like that bow.
Now, where is your freehold?
Why don't you let Bucky
lead? Just over this hill here, off to the left of the path. I think you might be able to see my the house there with the chimney smoke as well.
Okay.
Off there, see it?
Yeah, that looks good.
Is that a cliff?
Let's get over there a little bit faster. Maybe we can.
Oh yeah.
What do we got? Oh, I don't think people have seen the Lightfoot yet. Let's bring him out. Oh, look at him. How cool is that?
Alright, let's see how this runs.
Oh, he looks so good.
It does actually look really good.
I love the eyes.
Is that nose working overtime?
Super cool. Do we know who did this one? Was this Jinsey?
I think
I believe it was a Jinsey, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
this
it
guy's
hops
fast.
too.
Yeah, it's high speed.
It is a rabbit after all, you know.
It's so cool.
All right, I like this.
We gotta slow down a little bit. I can't approach at such fast pace to your freehold. That would be disrespectful. I apologize.
Yes,
Here
thank
we
you.
go.
Don't trample my plants, please. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. This is great.
The horde of rabbits.
So, what have you geared? It looks
This
like
is
you don't
huge.
have a a lot of buildings on the
This is
freehold.
way bigger than I thought it would
For
be.
yours, Bucky, is that because you're kind of trying to utilize the land for farming and I know, of course, you are Dr. Bucky, so the animal husbandry system and like
That's
livestock.
right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So I sacrificed some of the space I could have used for buildings to just have more farm space, basically. So as you can see here, we got some, we got some sheeps, we got some cows and pigs, and we got some chickens back there, and we have a lot of space for different farmables. So we have wheat here, corn, and then the tomatoes over there as well.
Oh, this looks great. So
Run through it, Stephen.
Mike, when we're talking about, these types of farmable spaces, obviously, as we discussed previously, the customization options for your freehold are really kind of up to you and what you want to delve into on the processing side of things and how you want to use the space.
I like
players
the
who want to
coming
participate in the
that,
farming, talk to me a little bit about that system. I mean,
the
intent, excuse me, to provide this open area space for people to utilize just growing different crop rotations and the livestock, and how does that feed the general processing system?
Yeah, so the farming is going to generally focus on growing crops like this and then dealing with livestock over there like that. But
nice.
generally what you want to do is gather some seeds from either vendor or in the world. You can gather or find some seeds on the open content, and you're going to come to your freehold, plant them, and then depending on what kind of processing level you have and what kind of processing stations or buildings you might have, you might grow crops like
so you
a
get
little faster,
better
produce
turnout.
like better
Well, now
crop
it's just 3
rotations,
weeks. It's just going up
and just generally farm things that's unique to farming produce, like compared it to in the open world.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just got a bunch of wheat. By the way, I apologize, Bucky, on stealing your wheat. But
yes.
No, go for it. I got plenty. It's harvest season. We got a big crop coming. I need some help getting all the harvest done.
Yeah, it looks super cool.
Another cool thing about farming too, since it has the livestock, is that it kind of feeds directly into hunting and synergizes with animal husbandry. So if you're interested in
I like how there's so many
animals,
different versions
taming animals, farmers will have a use for them.
They're basically the same, but there's
exactly.
different heights. And
so animal husbandry has multiple lanes of ways to breed and specialize your creatures, and
chickens.
Mounts and pets are one of the more popular ones, but then obviously livestock as well. So not only can you breed your animals for traits such as like movement speed and health and different combat stats, but you also be able to breed them for desirable traits like, fertility, increased harvesting yield, and even increased yield from butchering.
I like it.
What are you guys doing? Oh my god, that is awesome.
This is
leave our eggs alone.
Makes them more comfortable with you taking their eggs away. So
leave our eggs alone.
Morale.
Yeah, they won't peck us if we come with their style here.
Very nice.
Okay, that's really cool. I like that.
Okay, now, one of the other things that we wanted to obviously collect player feedback on, I'm going to open up the inventory just to kind of take a look at the materials resource bag. Talk to me a little bit about how we are implementing resources differently from the general item inventory.
So we're taking an approach from other games, but the idea of resources is gonna have somewhat of a slot base. Instead of having a slot base like traditional MMO, we're gonna look for like a Tetris kind of idea of having different shapes and different stack sizes, kind of like that, to make some interesting choices out in the world, where you have to do inventory management and have a pick and choose depending on like what you have available, what kind of bags you have.
Now, I seem to have kind of run out of space. Maybe I can grab. Do you have any?
Oh yeah, if you want, you can come put some stuff in the chest in the house, or
do it.
Are your bags too small, or what's?
Yeah, no, I only have one bag. It's called a Sanctus Resource bag.
Oh yeah, I got some extra bags for you. Actually, you could take some around my chest.
Oh, this is a nicely decorated home here.
I like it.
Thank you have the. You have the. Oh man, I can't remember what we called this, but this was for the pandemic. Everyone who I think registered prior to a certain date during the pandemic. Margaret will know. We granted this item to people, or will be granted to people. That's cool. It's modeled. Look at that. I think Ryan Richmond actually did the modeling for that, and then John Waynick did the implementation. Very cool. That looks awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Where's the chest I can grab?
Right here by the fireplace.
Oh, okay. Sweet. Let me see here. Materials. Oh, okay. All right.
All right.
So, what do I do here? Just grab this.
You can just take them all and swap it out, I think.
I'll equip them. Okay, cool. Now, this is obviously work in progress UI. This is not the final UI, but this kind of demonstrates the functionality of the system.
I don't get that.
Let me go over here. What can I do with these sheep?
Feed up some sheep.
You can harvest them for wool. Shoot them.
Shoot them?
All right. This is not going to hurt them, is it?
No, they'll be okay.
Good job.
Oh, pretty
Shooting is
sheep.
a non-destructive
Pretty
crop.
sheep.
Yes.
Give me your wool.
Yeah.
Oh, and the
give
sheep
me
even
some wool, and
loses it.
now it's naked. That's so sad.
It'll grow back.
Oh, how? So talk. Perfect. That's a good point. So it'll grow back. Talk to me a little bit about
How?
kind of the intent
How
behind
does it
the
grow back?
livestock
Time
here
scale.
and the crops as well. Like you're planting and you're placing these livestock on farmable space within your freehold, and then over time they mature and become processable, or how does that work?
Oh yeah, that's pretty much exactly it. Certain things, like for the
No.
crops, for example, you need to acquire seeds first, which can be acquired through a number of ways. But once you plant them, you'll have to water them and care for them, and then after a certain point, depending on the
Is he
crop
really trying to
itself,
look at it?
would be when you can harvest them, and then you can replant them at that point. And then for animals,
There you go, Steven. You got
different
your
animals have
nipples.
different, sort of byproducts they can get. Like, so for example, from the cow, you can milk them and
Teats.
get some fresh milk.
Oh my god! But they have horns. Are these the right cows?
Oh, there's
to milk?
udders. There's udders down there.
Oh, okay. All right.
There's udders.
Okay. Well, let's see. Oh, I got like a little stool. Wow, that's some rapid-paced milking. Holy
That's some
Yeah,
rapid fire.
That was crazy. Hold on, let me make sure I got the milk. Oh, we did get the milk. Let me pull it down here. Pull some corn down as well.
Okay, this isn't too bad if you can get more bags.
Some reorganization
Space.
there.
Yeah, kind of just reorganizing things.
Yeah, another sort of interesting thing that you'll see with livestock and other types of things that you can gather is you'll be able to kind of choose the things that you want to gather from it, right? Bucky had mentioned animal byproducts, right? And milk is a byproduct of a cow, and so is beef. So it's up to you, kind of how and when you want to harvest your livestock in certain ways. And same with plants. Maybe you want to, take the corn, and maybe you want to cut down the entire corn plant to make room for other crops, and there's different byproducts depending on how you interact with that gatherable. So
Beautiful.
Now, this is going to be
I
another
love
point
how
of
big
good
this
player
is.
feedback. So one, we kind of talked to you and showed you guys a little bit of the
Murder the pig.
systems for planting crops on your freehold, for raising livestock, collecting
I'm
resources
fine with
from
what's on
them.
the freehold right here.
This and then the Tetris inventory type
I'm
system.
not a fan of that.
But this one is more game philosophy / immersion, right? And what you're going to see now,
Steven, go back
I
to the
think,
pigs.
for those of you who are a bit squeamish, if you want to turn away, understandable. But we're going to get
He's
some
gonna murder!
leather. And what else from this guy?
Meat. Yeah.
Some,
Yeah,
some meat.
kind
and
of
hide.
whatever you'd expect from a pig.
Yep. Bacon.
All right. Well, all right. I apologize, little buddy. I'm
You
super
had a good
sorry.
long life,
You did have a good long life.
a happy life on the farm, and now,
Oh God, go to sleep.
now,
Oh, we got the hide and the meat. But it's. Oh, that's sad. Is it? It's just sleeping. Is it tired? That was.
Yeah,
intense.
it's sleeping.
yeah,
So
for
Steven,
sure.
you're
It's
okay.
sleeping.
it's sleeping. Yeah. Don't worry. Let's go.
Thanks.
Nothing to see here.
Oh.
Sorry, little piglets.
Oh no, not the piglets.
Okay.
No,
We'll take good care of you.
I was
no.
gonna take
Let
a
them
picture of
live
piggies.
a little bit of a
One
life.
day you'll become big, and then we'll.
Um,
You'll go to sleep too.
So guys, that's a great point of player feedback. Talk to us a little bit about how real/immersive do you want it to be, or do you prefer that perhaps the pigs don't die, but rather they just go to sleep? That's a good question, I think, for a lot of people to give their thoughts on. Okay, so now we have I'm seeing over here there's another building. Obviously we have the home here. We went inside a little bit. This other building, talk to me a little bit about that. We talked a little bit in the presentation about the profession buildings and them giving access to workstations. What do we have here?
So this is the artisan building that we talked about, and then these give general benefits to the freehold.
Okay.
It could be profession specific, it could be just general specific, but it also gives you like access to putting down stations like this. So this would be the metalworking station.
Oh, nice. Okay. And I see that this station's pretty intensive, and that's, I think, something we're going to be showing in a future stream, which is all about the crafting process and the recipe acquisition and the tools, but also a little bit of a gameplay layer that Corey, Mike, you guys have been working on with crafting in the future that we're going to show. But this one's all about processing. Cool. And talk to me a little bit about, we talked a little bit about what it takes to go into the fuel, to prep the station, to do the processed goods, and then kind of leaving and letting that, process over time. Do you expect that players are going to want to fully kit out their freehold?
Okay, Joe Job. You have a good night, buddy.
So they have access to all the stations.
Thanks for stopping by.
Of that?
Come back later and finish the video.
I think so, right? Like, if players are really interested,
I'm really happy with it.
Then
there's some weird stuff.
But
yeah, you have a good
night. Freeholds are supposed to kind of give the players the furthest reach up to the highest tiers of processing. So, if you want to, allocate most of your space in your freehold for, processing buildings, processing stations, you could create kind of your own processing plant or factory, and really sort of have a stranglehold on a market or particular goods. So the freehold is supposed to be free space for players to kind of do whatever they'd like, decorate housing, have businesses, or create a processing empire. So
cool, very cool. Well, I did get some some supplies. Whoops. I did get some supplies. Bucky, do you want me to put this in the chest or anything, or?
Yeah, you can just empty out and store it here in my chest for now, so you can go out.
Tomato plants?
Oh yeah, that's right. Just forgot to harvest these.
Oh.
That's cool. This thing is huge.
Here. Very nice. Aw, some more exploded. Oh no.
Well, you got some at least, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we're good. All right, let me go put this inside. Wait, let me make sure I actually did get the tomatoes.
Probably got a full bag at this point, almost.
Did I? Oh, I did get some tomatoes. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm gonna go put this
right here.
I'm gonna go put this in for you. Now, you've obviously done a great job with the decorations here on the furniture, and we don't intend furniture to obviously just be visual aspect of the interior, but functional as well. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so obviously we've seen here the chest, right? The chest is a placeable furniture prop that actually increases the storage capacity of your freehold property. But we're going to have a variety of, other functional furnitures, besides just even the artisanship stations. So, for example, we have a bed over here, which you'll be able to sleep in as well, get some rest experience, perhaps. Also, we'll have chairs. Those are just kind of cosmetic you'll be able to sit in. And but yeah, there'll be a variety of functional prop items as well that'll have actual gameplay uses.
Nice. That's awesome. Let's see. I'm just putting all this stuff into your storage chest, so you have it.
Very nice. Free labor.
I see you have some pictures in here as well.
Yep. That's the picture I commissioned to myself.
Oh, is this it? Is that you?
Yes.
It's actual Bucky.
Me in armor.
It's actual Bucky. That is so great.
I think this is your favorite, Steven.
Yes,
of course,
sandals.
sandals.
Oh, that's
classic.
so awesome. That is super cool. Now, obviously, players that we talked a little bit about businesses and how players can kind of stand up different taverns and whatnot. And Bucky, you had stated like one of the reasons why you wanted to have your freehold here in this location was because of some of the access to the rare resources, but there's also some interesting hunting grounds nearby. And, you know, one of the things that is interesting about the freehold system is that it's not just architected for processing, but it can also be a profitable location based on where and what you're providing other players access to from a like drink.
This has been very enlightening.
Tavern
really,
this has
been good. We mentioned it before. Like there's business types of buildings that you can build. Some of these could be very region specific. Like if there was a hunting ground nearby that is very populated, we could set up a tavern, sell like food buffs and drinks that is really good for XP bonuses or increase to your loot chance or something like that. Whatever that may increase some kind of a benefit to the player that is good business, like I said. The setup here where you could just
I love that. I love how it falls.
Take advantage of the populated player area.
That's awesome. That's super cool.
Why'd you just knock that tree down?
I love it.
Oh, he's gonna go
you were
knock
saying,
this tree.
You know, obviously having access to an open world where you're not necessarily restricted to the locations that you can place these freeholds, but allowing the players to kind of place them themselves. Obviously, we are going to block out certain areas that can't be placed, like certain road networks and POIs, but generally the intent is to provide these freeholds as layable plots in the open world. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So as long as you purchase a certificate from the owning node of the land, you'll be able to place it in many places around the node, like just basically anywhere that's not like a dungeon or a point of interest with monsters. You'll be able to place it in a lot of areas. So players will have a lot of freedom in choosing where they want to build their freehold and lay down their plot. So it'll be a big, like obviously here, like you said, I was looking at the, we got the mines over there, we got the point of interest, but we also have this large flat area for a lot of farming. And so it was kind of a good mix.
These freeholds are huge now.
Yeah.
They look so much smaller than the previews.
Bucky, you have a very cool freehold. You know, I think I'm getting a little bit tired. Mind if I just take a little nap, you know?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, it's great bed. You'll get some rested experience. It'll be perfect.
I was concerned a little bit with the nearby enemy populations, perhaps. Maybe you guys can keep watch over me as I go to sleep.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Don't worry. You'll be safe. We'll be set up guard.
Well, everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed this brief look at Bucky's Freehold, a little bit about the processing for livestock as well as crops, and take a look at the new mount, some of the resources that are placed around the Riverlands area, and also a little look at the housing system with some of the furniture that you have access to kind of use and provide a little bit of benefit that you have access to.
What kind of getting in bed animation is that?
And with that being said, I think we'll wish you all adieu and a good night. And we will see you next time. Thank you guys for joining us. Later.
Thank you for having us.
Bye, guys.
You know, I gotta say I liked how big the freehold is, all the functionality. I don't like we don't get to place it wherever
everybody.
we want.
I'm going to be playing the video in the background while we answer some preliminary questions.
Steven taking a nap.
We know there was a lot of thoughts and clarifications that we want to make. You're muted, Steven. Uh-oh. There we go. I think I heard something.
Can you hear me? Testing?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry. I said, I feel like after that, we all need to get up and do a little bit of a stretch. Just kind of move around a little bit.
I know, it was a long one. That's why I told everybody, bring your snacks, strap in.
It was a long video.
We got a lot more to show.
It was
and
real
first,
long.
I want to do some clarifications. The first one is that we will have the gameplay video part of it in 4K up on YouTube after this live stream. And then the full video will be up. The full dev update should be up tomorrow, pending technology and YouTube cooperate with us, and Twitch. But you wanted to make some clarifications on the predetermined aspects.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to kind of clarify the way that the predetermined parcels work versus laying down the freehold where you wish, right? So essentially, each zone of influence in the world has designated large swaths of land that act sort of as these parcels that can be catered to specific like points of interest or thematically, relevant. And you might want to bid on that kind of almost county size area where you then get to place your freehold, right? And once you have bid on those that area at the node, then you can acquire the freehold plot, and you go out into that zone, that section that you have bid on and acquired, and you place your freehold footprint, which is previously, we had set the freehold size to about a half an acre. However, recently that's changed. Well, not recently. A while ago, that changed to be 1.5 acres, or roughly 100 by 60. And of course, we're still in development, so things might change, continually. Just general disclaimer: as in development, these systems are subject to change. So right now they're about 1.5 acres. So you go out there and you go to that predetermined slice of land that's very large. It's many, many, many acres. And then you choose where you want to place your plot for the freehold. That's about 1.5 acres. And then on that plot, you get blueprints for buildings like your house and the artisanship buildings or businesses.
So they're really
and
spreading
you place those
freeholds
blueprints
out
down on the plot that you placed, and you construct them with materials.
I think some people have concerns about the bidding aspect of freeholds.
Yeah, that is
yeah, sure. No, so bidding is essentially once you've completed a quest, in order to bid, right? It's kind of like a little bit of a lordship quest, right? Where like, you're entitled to own this land, so to speak. You've proven yourself worthy for the node to grant you this parcel's deed. Then
maybe
on a regular cadence, especially at the inception or the beginning of a node, a number of those parcels will be available to bid for. And players who bid and win that bid then get to place their freehold on that section of the world, right? And the idea is to remember that like nodes are built up and nodes can fall through the destruction of either atrophy events or sieges. And when that happens, these freeholds can be subject to destruction. And if a new node develops, then that cyclical kind of recycling of these locations become available again.
Yeah. I think people are like, it's too real having to compete for housing.
Yes.
Yeah, but what happens if a node falls?
One form of three different.
And my node was really kicking
with the ends. Three different types of housing. So freeholds are really.
And then it's just like, what if I have to outbid?
Process oriented or artisanship oriented housing.
I'm nervous now.
But there's also static and node housing, and there's apartments as well.
Yeah, and okay. Next up, we've got clarification that we'll be putting out an article for freehold building cosmetic concerns. I know there was a lot of concerns in regards to that, to make things a little bit more clear. And we'll also be updating item descriptions as well in inventory. But one of the main things that people had noted was if freeholds are going to be limited, what happens if I bought a freehold building cosmetic? And I know you wanted to address that, Stephen.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good question.
In the same sense that we've done flying mounts, types of cosmetics and or tier 2 mounts, these require you to acquire them. And there are many ways to acquire a freehold, not just through the quest system, first come, first serve on a per node basis, but you can also sell and purchase a freehold as well. Now, again, freeholds are restricted to one per account. So if you're going to acquire a freehold and then sell it, you can only sell it to an account that doesn't already own a freehold. Because these
and you
are
can
relative,
only have one to sell.
Correct. That's correct. And because these freeholds are an integral component of the artisanship system, fulfilling kind of the best processing that's available within Ashes of Creation, these are constantly going to be coming up for sale. We're establishing kind of a real estate market that players can invest in and then sell within the in-game economy. But also they are a resource that's subject to removal through the sieging system as well. right? So there's a bit of risk implied there. But the idea is that this is something for players to strive for and to achieve, those who wish
I feel really
to
nervous
achieve
about
this.
systems
And anyone who sets their mind to it or sets it to their goal to work up either enough money in game to purchase a freehold from another player, or is at a node where a freehold's available and you've developed your personal holdings to acquire one through the bidding system, or if you become a member of a family. Those are all methods by which you can have access to the freehold and then utilize your cosmetics for the buildings.
Okay, and then this kind of
and by the
ties in
way,
perfectly.
just as real quick, I just want to state something. We took this different approach with the presentation and the PowerPoint side of things because this is a very in-depth
hefty
system, and this is very hefty when it comes to design detail. And anytime we get into a discussion about a system this intricate, there's a lot of opportunity for miscommunication, misinformation, misunderstanding in how these systems work. So that's why, as Margaret said at the beginning of the stream, I am scheduled for a live Q&A next week, and then also another one next month that we'll be announcing
coincidental,
where I'm going to have an opportunity to kind of chat with the community, and I'll probably jump on Discord after stream as well for maybe an hour or so. We'll see how my schedule looks. It's probably a nightmare, but I know.
I looked.
I know. And I'll try to answer some questions as in Discord as well. So and Roshan and Cody, they'll be assisting with that as well on the community side.
Roshan and Buckner have been answering a lot of stuff. Yeah.
That's
you
good.
answered one of them already. And then people would like, it kind of goes hand in hand with what you were just talking about. If you could talk a little bit more about freehold permissions, specifically one of the questions was, can people harvest from your freehold without permissions? Can they steal from your freehold?
No, people cannot steal from your freehold. They cannot harvest without your permission.
Okay.
You can have, if you're unfamiliar with the family system, take a little bit of a look at that. Of course, the Ashes Wiki is a great location of resources and knowledge. I know. A lot.
A lot has changed.
Remember, as we draw closer to testing dates, these systems get iterations that can happen very rapidly as we're either internally playtesting or as other systems change that facilitate a need to make changes within other ancillary systems. Those changes can occur. That's part of the player contract, so to speak, with a live development, is that understanding must be expressed on kind of the ability for these things to change over time, because ultimately we're trying to build the best possible systems, the best possible game for you guys to enjoy, and it all needs to make sense together. And MMOs are an accumulation of many different types of games in one, and that's what makes them so unique. So, yeah.
All right. And then, can players be denied from buying a freehold from other players, or buy property anonymously?
No.
Not really. Okay. And then Megaballin, which I think is a funny name. Will rare blueprints have benefits beyond just appearance?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Blueprints are the vehicle for which unique mechanical properties or in-game properties are delivered to the player. So buildings can have certain types of buffs and passive benefits that are conferred based on the quality of the blueprint that's been acquired. So the rarer the blueprint, the more powerful its effect.
Makes sense. All right. I like that part.
And then, does freehold size determine how much stuff can be put inside? How does a cosmetics can impact how many things or the location of where things can be placed?
Good call. So cosmetics that are very large in size, we will have a system. It's not been developed yet, but we've been planning for this. We'll have a system where multiple buildings can be occupied space-wise by the larger cosmetic. So a cosmetic might replace the visual appearance of one particular building, but then you'll be able to have that footprint occupy multiple buildings to replace the visual appearance of. Right. So that way you're still utilizing the similar amount of space. And yes, when you talk about the kind of management system of the freehold, it is entailed in two parts. One is a permitting system that allows for a specific number of different types of buildings that can be allotted on the freehold and constructed. That needs to be acquired through the node in which you've obtained the freehold certificate. And the other side of that is the space constraint as well, because whatever space you're not using on the freehold for a building plot or location can be utilized for other purposes, as you saw in the in-game presentation, such as livestock placement, crop placements and rotations, as well as other types of placeables.
All right. And then the question here was, are there plans to replace Rest XP with another benefit as the servers mature and majority of players are already max level?
Not at the moment, no. Right now, the beds are primarily servicing a rest experience function. Of course, there are obviously opportunities where additional tech tree structures could be provided, or additional items might get released with expansions that have different types of benefits conferred to that particular type of furniture. But at the moment, that's not in the plan.
Are the upgrades / skills? Sorry, my camera is dripping out.
That's okay.
I took the Elgato update and now it's just borked my camera.
Oh no.
Yeah. Are the upgrades / skill tree buildings or profession specific? Can you reset the trees at a cost?
You absolutely I believe you can actually change the tree spec at a cost. And the upgrades are specific to the building.
Was that Margaret
the upgrade
or me?
paths are specific to the building.
Did I just lose something?
All right. And then will there be furniture loot in drop tables? If so, will they be common or rare drops with unique designs?
There will be components of unique furniture recipes that are dropped and are rare. And those, again, will scale based on the rarity and the power it confers to the specific type of furniture it constructs.
Okay.
And can married couples co-own a freehold?
No, the freehold ownership is designated by one account only, and then the family system is the system that facilitates multiple accounts having permission basis within that freehold.
Okay, makes sense.
And we will have more questions, but they're in the Q&A segment pulled from our forums, but they will be freehold specific.
And I want to
go ahead.
Real quick, I just want to give one other commentary about an additional system that you guys got an early insight and early look at, which is the inventory system. And I want to give some clarifying commentary on the purpose and the design for that inventory system.
Yes, I would like an explanation.
So, first of all, inventory is split into two separate management systems. The first is your non-material, non-gatherable slots. Those are your standard single slot, not space constrained system, right? That's a standard inventory. You just have a single slot and you can pull completed items and or consumables and quest items or whatever into that slot, right?
Okay.
And then when you're talking about materials specifically, processed goods and gatherable, those exist within the Tetris type inventory system.
Oh,
and
why?
the purpose for that is you're seeing a very early representation of the UI there. This is not the final UI, nor is it even the existing kind of UX design that we want to facilitate with ease of access into that system. This is just kind of functional currently. But what we want to achieve with that is, because everything in the world is generally harvestable, a resource that could be harvested, we want to have very unique progression when it comes to the construction of resource bags, right? And those resource bags will have certain benefits, like increasing stack size count of particular types of resources, or of having additional delay time necessary to interface with your corpse should a player try to take the resources you might have dropped in PvP, or having passive benefits and unique structures of spacing that makes it a better bag for wood gathering because woods are 3x1, or a better bag for mining because
mining is always 2x2. Like the idea is to make your intent as a gatherer when you go out into the wild specific, right? Not just that you're going out into the wild and gathering everything you can because it's there, and that's what we don't have a labor system that limits it, right? We have a space constraint system. So when you leave,
okay, I kind of get what he's saying. I just don't like
go
it
out
though.
into the wild, you need to be
I just don't like it.
conscientious of what you're choosing to interact with and take resources for, because you have a limited space constraint to that degree. And we think it's an interesting system that ties into, as you guys will see later, the caravans and crates system as well.
All right. And do note that anything that we've talked about today, we would love feedback on. We will have a Freehold Updates live stream thread that will go up. It might be up right now. I don't know how quickly Wagner is working to push that up. But definitely go head on over to our forums, give us feedback. We'll be compiling that and sending it yonder to our development team. They've been loving all of the reports that we've been putting together, and your guys' feedback has been super valuable. It makes sure that we're, on the right page as far as we move forward. A lot of the things that you guys want are things we're already planning to do, which is very exciting. And it also kind of makes sure that we're making the right design choices. And if you guys see any flaws or holes in those things, we'd love to see what your thoughts are. And especially as you get into Alpha 2, that's when you're going to get your hands on it and you're going to be able to provide the juicy feedback. But preliminary, we would love to know what your guys' thoughts are. With that, we've got quite a bit of art updates to showcase, so we'll move on to that. And then I know that folks are curious about some studio updates that have happened.
Hey, Ty, how's it going?
So
over on Facebook.
We'll move on.
Thanks for the like.
Art. You saw that.
Okay, good. It's the art update. I gotta go. I've been having to pee for the past.
There that Stephen.
Having to pee for the last
couldn't find
30
others
minutes
to start with, but he did eventually. And some shearing that we did with the wool, and we've shown some of the other creatures in the past, but we did have some chickens that were added and eggs, and I'm sure you've seen some of our other. We've got a chicken pig creature and some other creatures that may be coming in the world, but we want to definitely have the ranching creatures you would expect in game, of course, and then we'll have some more Varan specific ones coming out. The next creature we have is actually quite awesome. It's the crab fish, which I love. Danny did such a good job with this one.
Yeah, careful what you go out there fishing for.
Yeah, you might catch one of these bad boys. And then for those of you who got the Falgaze Stalker, this is how that's coming along, and we actually have a turntable for it. And don't worry, I'll be showing that costume in a moment here too. But it's looking sick.
Looks great. Yeah, I love it.
We will be making many variants of that, I'm sure, for creatures in the world.
I was they had I can't remember the name of it. Is it Manicore or what is I can't remember the name of the creature that's similar to this in D&D, but I was watching that D&D movie and I thought they did a great job with that movie, and I think they had one of the similar to this in the little maze area.
Yeah, I actually liked the D&D movie as well.
Yeah, normally the D&D movies are cheesy, but that one was really good.
Yeah. And then this is the Desolation Outlander armor that you just saw in that turntable. Looks badass. Jinsey did such a good job. Then we have the second sword. And I believe we got a Vec donning this.
All right, it's a bit more of a P, but
we maybe haven't seen a Vec in a bit. They're pretty cool looking.
Hey, Ty, you should go back and watch the last hour of this video. They showed off the freehold housing system in a lot of detail. It's pretty nice.
Ever hired, actually.
Yeah. Keith has made a lot of awesome stuff.
A lot of great stuff. He's a phenomenal artist, great modeler, character artist.
And then we've got the Sons of Fortune.
Sons of Fortune? Tinkle, tinkle, yeah.
And
beautiful.
A couple Soul Seeker variants. And a couple masks. So the first one is the Tormentor's Visage.
Oh, I was wearing that, but the white version. I just didn't have the cloak on.
Oh, for the Soul, for the Soul Seeker.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you saw Steven's character in game.
Yeah, Ty, it was really.
And then we've got the.
It's very enlightening.
I think
it's very
this is
cool to
still
see everything.
Work in progress, but you can see some of it. And then the fun one, drum roll. Oh yeah, Steven can't hear the drum roll. Now he can.
Oh, you did?
We've got our new Nikuin looks. Woo.
Oh yeah.
So you probably saw some of the faces that we had here.
Oh, did you see Swotar going to a new company, Ty?
And then I also have some more shots for you guys to check out as well.
It's not going to be Bioware.
They're along really nicely. This is
These
the
are
Nikuin.
the in-game models.
Yep.
Yep.
So you saw the concept art previously. Now these are the models.
Yeah, it's some outsourced company.
It
sounds like they're going to
customization for yourself. This is just
do
like
layoffs. It's probably the end of the game.
Generated.
Maybe like
somebody said, "Holy mother of forearms."
I don't see the game lasting for another year,
goofy.
honestly.
That was great. Very nice. Looks great.
And then we've got the female. Swap over to them. And I do have a turntable for the female as well.
Oh, you lost your key lock? It's a good half an hour on the phone
cool.
with support to get that removed.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's for your social security number, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we will have like a whole tattoo system in game as well, which is really exciting.
Absolutely.
I do like this model for a little.
Is the turntable of the
I want to take a picture of this, send it to somebody.
Yeah, I love the Polynesian influences for this race. I think they, it's an often underrepresented cultural influence in a lot of games, and I think that the Nikuin
Waiting for this much longer now.
History and lore tie in nicely to kind of representing, I think, that that aspect in Ashes.
I don't think they're going to even have the Alpha 2 until this Christmas, so this game is not going to be out this year. So might not even be out next year, honestly.
Misrepresented or underrepresented in those games. Sometimes there's not even female characters.
It's fun to hope,
so.
Yeah.
With that, let's talk a little bit about studio
That's a quick art update.
There's one big one that I know folks have been asking about, and we're like, is that person going to be on the stream?
No.
I'm gonna let you know, as someone who was on a live stream and did an AMA my first week starting, that's wild.
Hey, you were a trooper. You're a trooper.
I downloaded everything and every piece of information I possibly could.
Yeah, so studio update. Some of you might have seen an announcement. We have brought on an absolutely glorious individual by the name of Bill Trost. Funny enough, Bill was the first person I'd ever interviewed, John and I ever interviewed for Intrepid Studios. But he joins us as of 2 weeks ago. He has a rich history and a very tremendous amount of experience, having shipped multiple MMOs. And he brings his wealth of knowledge to the team. He's worked with many of our people in our studio over the course of his long tenure as a game developer. And he is currently in the process of catching up to speed as much as possible. So it wasn't quite appropriate for us to invite him on this stream, but I'm sure in a future stream, you guys will have an opportunity to meet and listen to Bill and chat with him. So very excited about that.
Yeah, and we've done a few of those where you get to meet and learn more about some of the developers, but we usually like to tie that in with a system that they're working on or some kind of content piece. Otherwise, we also get people who are mad because they're like, show us game. We don't want to hear about this person. It's finding a balance of like, we are people, but we also are trying to make a product for you and show progression.
Yeah, that's true.
And hopefully you've been seeing that as we move forward. And next month's live stream is also going to be a very long one. So
what is it?
Prepare yourself for that.
What is it, Margaret?
My goodness. That you think this one was
And with that, I think we'll go into our Q&A to wrap things up, because we've been holding you all as long as we can so far, but we do have a few more questions, and some of them are specifically Freehold related and others are not. So we'll go through
I will just say that many people are asking for a leak. I'm not going to give a leak, but I am just going to say that next month, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be next month. There's a slight possibility it might be the month after, but next month, the hint will be send nodes.
Steven.
What? No, nodes. Send nodes.
I know.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to leak something from PI meeting. Someone might have said the wrong word at one point during the PI meeting. Calling you out, Roshan. It was so funny. We were all laughing so hard. Anyways, moving on, we've got our questions here. So these were pulled from the forums. Reminder that we do sometimes do these. We might not do one for next month, but we do have a couple Q&As slotted for Stephen outside. We'll see how that goes. But for this one, this is from Songrune, which that's such a beautiful name. Their question is,
doesn't this game look beautiful, Ty? Like, look at that.
Will it be
look at that
possible
world.
to choose the direction your freehold is facing and buildings are facing on your plot, particularly when using cosmetics from pre-order packs, or will this already be determined by the plot you choose?
The answer to those questions are yes, yes, and yes. So you can manipulate the orientation of the freehold plot. You can manipulate the orientation of the particular buildings
and items.
And items, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
a heavy degree of customization. And by the way, those systems are in place for the furniture placements and the props. It's just pending kind of UI treatments, because right now it's all program art. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with game development, UI and visual effects and audio are often the most taxed teams, because they tend to be at the end of each pipeline. So
praise them, and QA. So all 4 of those teams are like, please give us the thing as early as possible.
And just to give context for why they're typically at the end of the pipeline of development for many systems and or content, is because you want to have all the iteration done for a particular animation or system or whatever before you get to
I'm sure your neighbors love you right now.
visual effects or the UI. And then typically when those systems all get completed, now it's all stacked up and ready to get worked on by those teams. So yeah.
Yeah. And then the next one is from Zeke the Phoenix, and they want to know about mounts and freeholds. Will you be able to keep your mounts that you've unlocked on your freehold's plot to move freely about as they please, like in a stable or in a little fenced area?
Cool. There are a number of different types of ways that creatures can be acquired, some of them in a mount format, and can be utilized in animal husbandry / livestock placements on the freehold. But from a cosmetic perspective, we don't quite have a system in place for that yet. I'm not going to rule that out for the future or post-launch, but right now it's delegated specifically to like hunting, taming, livestock, and animal husbandry.
That's fine. I don't mind that.
All right. And
always an option.
Tyran Thraxis wants to know about moving freeholds. How many times a year do you suspect that that most players will be moving residents based on nodes being eliminated from sieges?
Ooh, that's a good question. And there are a lot of variables that influence that answer. I'm not sure I can give an average. But what I would say is that depending on the political dynamic of a server, if a server tends to have more
upheaval,
more combat and or sieges against nodes, that is going to increase the amount of opportunity for freeholds to be removed from the world and then replaced. I'm not sure I have an average. What I will say is that it is very important to remember that Ashes is not a PvP game and it is not a PvE game. It is a PvX game. And that has a very specific meaning. It means that as these systems are developed, as they are designed, and they are integrated with each other, they are done so from a competitive viewpoint, and how that system relates to both PvE and PvP. Freeholds are one of those systems, very much so. And it's because of the cyclical nature that we're attempting to achieve with the development of nodes and the destruction of nodes. The world is a rapidly and dynamically changing place, really. So it's intended to be something that is constantly recycling and is leaking out different types of content and new content that revitalizes the player interest and stimulates new points of conflict or cooperation.
I hope it doesn't
right?
Push people away.
That is what the goal is of the system.
And building the history of the game. Like, for instance, if you're part of the node that is the longest running node in the history of your server, like that's epic. That's a story to tell, right? And I think that hopefully you feel like you are part of it so much that you want to fight for your freehold and fight for your citizenship and fight for your area that you're in. For anyone who has played a
give me the bunny mount
game that has persistency like that, there's a little bit of
Oh, at the start, you missed it. They had a giant dragon
and notoriety
that he spawned. That was a mount.
Like somebody, I think,
that had leaves, like fall orange, brownish leaves as its body.
When you
it
killed
looks
the mama
super
pig
cool.
and the babies had to
you
gotta go back.
pig.
You gotta
I
watch
don't
this
know
whole
that
thing.
the piglet was related. They could have been from different pig families.
There was no other mama pigs there.
We don't know that for certain.
Dr. Bucky, we need an update. No, I'm just kidding. Zayer wants to know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I loved the emote that they did with the chicken dance.
Oh my gosh, it was so great. I was laughing.
No, a hilarious story. I was late for a meeting yesterday with Bucky, Corey, and Mike, and they took a video and they sent me a video on Slack.
Mama pig gets slaughtered.
And let me see. Can I send this to you and you can show it?
Yeah. You can send it to me in DM. And
I think they told me that I could show it. Hold on. Let me see. Maybe they're gonna regret that. Oh no. I think they might. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Got it. And they're probably trying to run to my office right now and stop me from doing it.
Buttborn?
Okay, I just sent it to you in a DM on Slack.
Okay. It's in like a.
So this is after we recorded. They were waiting for me to come to a meeting. I had to run out for an errand, and I was late for my meeting like 5 minutes, and so they sent me this.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna.
What are they pulling up?
Drag it onto here. Oh, it's because. Why is it an MOV?
I don't know how they took it. They probably did it on a phone or on their.
I think because it's
webcam.
MOV, I can't put it on here. But
sad.
I can do it a different way. I can play it on a screen and screen capture it. Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. So give me a second to.
So the
you're back too?
That,
are you making pizzas
a lot of
again, or
different emotes are part of the game that you can kind of express yourself in. This one was a leftover for those of you who were in APOC and tested for APOC. You had this particular emote.
I have 6 monitors, so I gotta.
Hey, but it makes your get your money.
I'm gonna transition here. You're gonna get a full screen of whatever this is.
This is what. Where's Steven? There's Bucky, Corey, and Mike.
What did it do?
They were doing.
People are gonna zoom in on the images on people's.
They're animation references.
The mocap for I don't think those were mocap.
Yeah, they're doing chicken dance in the stream. When he was over by the chickens, they all did it in game.
But in regards to the data about
this is why the game's not out. They're all doing the chicken dance.
We'll be capturing a lot of that stuff in the back end, so we could do some really cool server statistic data. And I know from the marketing perspective, I would love to do
absolutely
lots of graphics like that with details and stuff for you guys to look at on the website when it comes to server.
They're all crackheads, you're right.
The next question here is from Zayer. Maintaining a freehold. Is there going to be an upkeep to freeholds and nodes that, if not provided, will degrade the freehold, such as materials required to keep things running?
Well, as we spoke a little bit about through the artisanship and processing mechanics, fuel is a necessary component of the actions that you can take with processing stations. However, if we're talking about material, excuse me, if we're talking about material maintenance necessary for the actual freehold itself, no. There is, however, a tax system which requires taxes to be paid on the property that you own, and that tax system
tax me in real life, tax me in game. Come on.
Is informed by the number of permits for the types of buildings and upgrades that you have on the freehold as well, including potentially the business. So those tax certifications are kind of what's necessary to maintain or upkeep the node.
Okay. And
no, he's gonna melt the bowl.
To crops and creatures, will they have to have some upkeep to keep those things alive? And
that's the livestock and the crop rotations have a process oriented approach. which means that it includes things like watering and fertilizing and feeding and raising those. That's kind of the process by which you get these things to the mature state. The other thing is that like different types of assets on the farming side or on the livestock side, they have different types of interactions. So right now you're just kind of seeing one interaction. The system hasn't been fully implemented yet, but certain types of creatures can be either butchered or they can be harvested for their wool or their milk, and then they can be, plants can be like uprooted, they can be fruited, they can be harvested. There's different types of interacts that are available based on the type of asset from the farming perspective.
People are already zooming in on the whiteboard in the background.
Oh no! Is there stuff on there?
I don't know, but it's funny.
Whoops.
Next up, we've got Strange Abe, who wants to know about super fast freehold gathering. Will there be quicker gather function in your freehold than the one that was seen? Because right now you're like gathering.
I mean, there's like a tree in the middle of the stronghold. You can dance around the tree.
Different types of tools and or machinery that can be used to like plant multiple seed types within a particular infrastructure that gives you bundles and or many different harvestings. That's part of progression. So as you get more adept at farming, you have the ability to kind of mass produce. And the same is true when you talk about quality, quantity, speed of processing across many of the different processing professions.
All right. And then we've got Team America wanting to know about guild hall crafting. And I did see a bunch of questions about guild halls in the chat too, but this was about freeholds, not guild halls. Will guild halls be able to build high-end crafting stations or otherwise different mechanics from freeholds?
Generally, let me pause on the guild hall discussion because there's still some active iteration being done on the designs for that based on what we've previously had. So that'll be something that we'll update in the future.
Cool, makes sense. I mean, we could probably do a whole thing just on guild halls. That's why I saw a lot of questions about them in there. I was like, that's a whole other thing, homies.
The big can of worms.
Yeah. Jalon wants to know about freehold PvP. Are you safe while on your freehold, or do you have to be in a building to have safety from other players?
Currently, the only safe space for the freehold is the home. So if you are within the home's footprint, you cannot be harmed via damage by other players.
But
do you have to like lock your doors and windows like some other games that I've been part of, or just inside?
Just on the footprint of the home.
All right.
Yep.
On the footprint of the home. What prevents players from PvPing you? Is it just like a zone type of thing?
It's a hard lock. When the ability checks a valid target, the return is no.
Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to clarify because people are going to ask further. And Grinham wants to know about freehold durability. Could you give us an idea of how durable a freehold is in case your node is successfully staged? Like, how does that? How long do I have to basically go clean up my stuff?
Yeah, it's a balance question, and it's something that's going to be a part of when we test.
I don't want to move my house once I get a spot.
Where does landing right live? And my expectation is that given the scope of time that's available for the freehold to be destroyed potentially after a node siege, we want to cater that balance towards that period of time, essentially. And knowing that that's a few hours, potentially, you want it obviously to scale based on the number of participants and or attackers you might have, but creating kind of a mini encounter / experience there. So I don't have a direct answer to you. It's going to live within the time frame of that period of time that the freehold can be destructed.
Awesome. And these last two questions that were pulled from our forum.
It really is tight. This game is something else.
Necessarily freehold specific. So you can, it's all freehold. Smucky wants to know about monster coins and world bosses. Will world bosses like Tumak take part in the NPC sieges on nodes, and will players be able to use a monster coin to play as one of those world bosses?
Great question.
In an event.
That is the intent, is that we will have varying quality of monster coins available. Creatures like Tumak may participate in certain atrophy events or other types of events. And if you have the very rare and legendary type of monster coin that's available to be used on a creature type like Tumak, then yes, you could inhabit him. That's the intent of the system.
I love the idea that Tumak like lives on this node area with you and is like protecting the
Just
roaming
playing
area
WoW
around,
Far
and then
Cry
like
waiting
you're
to
starting
wait.
to get siege,
You're
and
gonna
he's
wait
like, all
forever,
right,
man.
I'll come help you. Like some
You don't even have a
diplomacy
pre-order.
happens, and he gets on board, and someone gets
Go
to play
pay.
him. Like that's cool. I don't know. I like that.
Right now, I will say that the monster coin system is used exclusively for assaulting nodes, not for defending them. But
Oh, okay. They took over your area. Little does he know, we're gonna do that to it too. But don't tell him that. He's dumb. Low int, it's fine. No, I'm just kidding. Next question here is, I just like the RP element of it. I'm sorry.
I love it.
Jibs IRL wants to know about audio design. From an audio creation standpoint, how do you plan to make audio in Ashes of Creation an immersive experience? And I do want to mention that if you haven't watched our 2022 recap, you should definitely go do that, because Kat talked.
Oh, you got the
She didn't really want to be
Kickstarter?
on the stream, but she was wonderful, and she did have like a lot of great things to say about the audio in Ashes of Creation and her thoughts on it. But
Yeah,
I'll pass
but
that to you,
do you
Steven.
with the
for sure. I mean,
yeah, but does the Kickstarter
audio
package you got give you access
as
to an alpha
important as
or a
visuals,
beta even?
and sometimes in certain cases more. For me specifically, when you talk about the audio design of like creatures and the different types of kind of tactile responses you want to hear out of mining and
you can always upgrade
resource
your
gathering
Kickstarter.
and artisanship.
Just
I
saying.
mean, it permeates every layer of the
So
game.
you can gain access earlier.
So we have a phenomenal audio team here that's comprised of both on the engineering side, on the audio design side, and Kat is a phenomenal leader.
Did you ever
she is
make an account on their new
dedicated to
website
kind of
with
the
Ashes?
audio fidelity that we want
Because
to
if you
achieve
did it,
with
you're not
Ashes.
going to.
I think you guys can
You have
see
to link
that
your
in the
Kickstarter
demonstrations
to it,
and
and
the
it's
kind
a
of
whole
previews
process.
that we provide of the game.
You're supposed to do it 2 years
when
ago.
we're talking
Did you
about
do it?
the bar that
Otherwise,
we're
you won't get
setting
access.
in, that quality, it is on par with what you would expect from other AAA type games. Our perspective is that we want to, create an environment that's going to elicit emotion from the player when they hear these types of sound effects or when they hear these types of ambiences or soundtracks and music that it's accompanied. And we want it to be defining, either to the area, to the encounter, to the dungeon, something that when you hear it, you remember, oh, that's that place, that this brings back the memories, right? And so, having a team that's capable and
you mean in game, right?
creating
Not
an
real life
for themselves, as a player as well.
I mean, that even goes down to brand. Like one of the things when we first started was making that iconic like screech sound when you hear the phoenix come onto screen. And some people were like, well, why are you being so picky? Why do you want that sound to be and everything? I was like, because it's like that sound you get when you're like, what it is right away. I think that to me that's so important for not only the immersion of in game, but in other external places as well.
Again,
for people
I saw it again. That
and see that it's iconic.
The light in the doorway flashed.
And
Steven,
window. You made it.
Oh
all the questions, all of the things covered.
I said at the start, I think this would have taken about 1.5 to 2 hours, and I think we're just going to be under 2 hours. That's
just
not too
under
bad.
2 hours.
This
is
a long
going to be a long one too, but we hope that you have all enjoyed this. Steven, do you have any
final
things you want to mention before I do some quick reminders?
Absolutely. I just want to say, thank you guys for being great sports and dedicated supporters for the project. I know that development and the journey of development is not a journey for everyone, and it means very much to us that we have this rapport established with our core audience, our golden players, to kind of provide us with the navigational feedback and direction that we're taking on the game side, and making sure that that's validated by what our core audience wants and believes in, right? I mean, that is the best type of relationship.
This is a little squeetee, everybody, and his poncho
with their audience, and we are very privileged and honored to have that relationship with you guys.
Are you watching it all?
We hope you like what you're seeing, and you guys are excited for playing the game, because we're here every day hard at work trying to make this dream a reality.
Gonna take after Butters. He was a really good.
We're doing it because gamers.
Butters was. He really was.
If you do have thoughts
Number one
for us, head on over to our forums,
Barron
forums.ashesofcreation.com. We have some threads that are already pre-made, but you can also create your own. We'll be creating some feedback reports for our developers, so please share that information with us. Also, don't forget that Stephen will be joining the Ashen Forge for the 100th episode over on twitch.tv/TheoryForge on July 9th. So please tune into that. It should be a really good time. Stephen always answers, sometimes leaks something, so we'll see what comes of that. We also have our monthly cosmetic swap over that's happening for Songs of the Sea on July 12th, if you're interested in that. And we don't have all the information on the swap over. Stephen was giving you all a very big heads up that cosmetic packs and stuff are going to be changing in the future from pre-order packs. So just keep that in mind. We will have more information as we get closer to that, but still we'll give you enough time to and warning in advance. So don't worry too much about that. And of course, thank you very much to all of you for sticking with us for 2 hours and for following our journey. We hope that you enjoy it. Making games is not easy.
It is. Don't lie.
And we also want we want to say thank you to Dr. Bucky, Mike, Corey, and of course, Stephen for presenting some really great information on freeholds. We'll have some articles and content up for you guys after this. So stay tuned for all of that. And if you follow us on all of our social channels, we also give lots of information on things on a daily basis. So you will have plenty of Ashes of Creation content to consume throughout the weeks. And of course, we will have the video up on YouTube. We're going to have the 4K one right away today for just the gameplay segment, and then the full dev update should be up tomorrow, pending technology cooperates. And if you leave a comment on the dev update, you could be spotlighted for our next one. So make sure you're a subscriber, and we can see that you're a subscriber. And
see what Ty said about his son raging in the basement on Xbox.
So with that, we're going to wrap up today, and we hope that you have a wonderful month.
Wonderful
we'll see you next month.
And happy 4th of July for you guys out there in America.
Happy birthday to Stephen.
Not the British, though.
Your birthday's going to happen before the update, the next update.
I know, 2 weeks. Bye, guys.
He's getting old. No, just
Oh,
kidding.
too old.
He's like the same age as me. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
So that was a very long but very enjoyable update there. Since you watched the whole thing, what's your thoughts, though, sweetie?
I would say in the freehold size.
Yes.
That was way too big. I would say.
Too big?
You feel like.
Too big? Usually people want big.
Yeah, I know, but that I thought it was gonna be. That was way too big that I thought. Because, I thought it was going to be about half of that size. A freehold.
So, if you remember from the video, they said originally it was going to be a half acre.
Yeah, half acre.
And now they're doing an acre and a half. So, it's three times bigger.
Yeah.
So, that's...
big.
That is big. And it looks huge. And there's a lot of space to do what you want. I mean, he had 3 sections of 3 different plants. He had, cows, sheep...
Pigs.
Chickens area. Pigs. So he had 3 different animal areas, 3 different crop areas. He had his shed. He had his house. I feel like he had a lot of open area too still.
Yeah, he wasn't using all of there.
Yeah, so that's he said, Ty said, Texas big or just big? I mean, it kind of seems like it's big. But, I don't know. Oh, my stream just dying. No, weird. YouTube just said it. Stream's dead. Oh well, who knows if it died. I'm gonna keep talking. Anyways, yeah, it seems massive compared to what they originally had. I'm not a fan though that you have to auction for the parcels, and you have the quest to access the parcels. I don't mind that much.
Yeah, I don't mind.
I wonder what the quest will be that will slow people down.
Yeah.
But I guess my thing is auctioning. If you got a rich dude, he's just gonna wipe you out from getting it. But you might have been there first, and he might just come in at the last second. That's something to think about. What else? What else was this thing? I know that's my concern. I'm gonna play this while we. So this video. But I don't know. I really. Oh, the lights. Give me a little seizure right there with that flash. What else? Yeah, it's I don't know I don't like the way they're acquiring it. That I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
And then my other issue that I can see as being a problem will be
Limited.
well, they're limited. We always kind of knew that, but I meant we're not allowed to place our stuff wherever we want anymore. Yeah, we used to be, originally pitch was like we could place it pretty much everywhere except for like on a road in a node, like which made sense. But now we have to buy a parcel. And the parcel, he said, was like the size of a county. Which I don't know how I'm going to get a size of a county. And then I'm a little node in somewhere in there. Like, do I get to place anywhere in that parcel? Do I get, I don't know, there's still questions to answer. Which are going to be interesting for sure. But, I mean, that's just something we're going to have to figure out, basically. Which I'm not a huge fan about. But we'll figure it out, I guess. What was I thinking of? What was I thinking of? I guess that's all I got. It's just, I'm not a fan of how we're going to acquire them. But I'm not a fan of how they're going to place them. We need more clarification on all that stuff, right? I think that'd be helpful. But obviously that's going to take time for us to figure out, so. Or at least get our hands on and play. Oh, the video stopped. Oh, now it caught up. That's so weird. It's like it hit midnight and then my computer's like, we're gonna freak out. Any last thoughts you have before we wrap it up? No. Did you like the bunnies? Did you like when the pig was killed?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where it looked like he like, all right, little piggy, it's time for bed. Right, and slits its throat. But yeah, that's all I got, guys. So, anyways, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I am Squeetee. That little Squeetee makes appearances sometimes, usually in the bottom corner of the camera right there. That's his appearance. If you guys want to find more of my stuff, squeetee.com, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. Almost everything I do is on YouTube. So if you want to find me, don't hit the mic, you son of a gun. But if you want to find me, go to YouTube. And I think that's about it. Yeah? What are you going to do tonight? It's midnight, so what are you doing? You're turning your computer on.
Yeah.
It's bedtime for little people.
No.
Look at you. All right. Goodbye, everybody. You have a good night.